we're back and we're down to the top two. Finally, we're in the top two. Now, this one is one of the most quintessential chick flicks of all time. You ask anyone, well, it was more popular in the generation before me, but you ask a lot of people who know a lot about movies, what is one of the most popular, most well-known chick flicks? This isn't going to be number one, but this is going to be high up on the list, which is why it's surprising that I like it. But trust me, this goes way beyond those sappy, personality-less stories that you often see marketed to women today. And great characterization, great plot, and if you don't know the Japanese concept of tsundere, this will define it for you. And here it is. You've Got Mail, starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. Now, I should start by defining that concept I said earlier. Tsundere. It's basically when you pretend to hate someone because you don't want to admit that you love them. And that's kind of what this movie's about, but there's complications. And again, I gotta start by saying I love Meg Ryan, even more than Janeane Garofalo. She does a fantastic job of playing most of her characters, if not all, and this one is no exception. This one makes an every woman that you can really believe in. She's strong, even though she's looking for love. She's not submissive. She's quirky, but not in a manic pixie way. I find her very believable. And also, in this film, she plays a woman who runs her own tiny bookstore, and I've always kind of thought that was sort of a glamorous career that I wish I could have. I mean, that's not currently what I'm training to do, but I still think it's a really cool concept. And it actually plays into the story because Tom Hanks, the male love interest, comes into it as the owner of a larger book corporation that's threatening her store. So there's kind of an economic level to this story. So basically, she and the Tom Hanks character absolutely hate each other in real life. They fight, they argue, they bring out the worst in each other. But each of them has started an online relationship with a stranger they've never met before and don't know the name of, and you guessed it, they found each other online and are having a relationship through email, unaware that each of them is actually in love with their arch nemesis. That's where this movie is both hilarious and heartwarming, because unlike in real life, where if you get into a relationship with someone online, they will probably turn out to be nothing that they say they are, and a lot worse. What they really find out when they communicate with each other, not face-to-face, is that each of them isn't the monster that the other thinks they are. And they discover that they really do connect deep down. And on the level of their physical face-to-face interactions, they belong and involve story fighting over their bookstores, which eventually comes to a gradual, really kind of a pleasing way to pan out that story, because they have to figure out how to become friends in real life before they get the idea to try to meet their mysterious email partner in person, and they do. By the end of the film, they are actually in love with each other on both levels, and the friendship becomes really gloriously heartwarming to watch. And in the end, where you know they finally got to figure out who it was they've been corresponding with this entire time. It's just so satisfying and so sappy, and this is completely and totally a chick flick. I have no excuse for liking this except that the characters are great. I love this story. I love how it's a feud over bookstore ownership. I love how they both hate and love each other. I love watching their friendship develop. I just really like this movie. Okay, number one. Here comes the big one. Let's see if any of you can guess. Knowing that my trends are, I like good characterization. I like when there are a lot of quirky side characters and side plots that go on. I like realistic romance, and I like romance that kind of breaks the predictability pattern. And I'll admit that this one is a little bit predictable, but there's one element of it that I'll really discuss that I really love. Okay, have you all got a movie in your mind that you're guessing? Okay, let's see if any of you got it right. My number one chick flick that I not only tolerate, but really, really, I'll go so far as to say love, is My Big Fat Greek Wedding, starring Nia Vardalos, who pretty much disappeared after this movie. And I'm pretty sure you can guess what I like about this movie, is that it's not just a love story. It's a story about a wedding, but it's also a story about crazy families. Yes, there is an emphasis upon the fact that this one is very traditionally Greek and very attached to their cultural heritage, but I think it also speaks to what a lot of people can say, is that one of the hardest things about relationships is A, cultivating one with your family, and B, getting your love interest to be in the same room as your family without becoming completely mortified. And this does a wonderful job of playing both the romance and the family aspect at the same time. Nia Vardalos' character is absolutely not a manic pixie dream girl. She's probably more of an every woman than anyone else I've listed so far. She's legitimately awkward, has low self-esteem, and one of the things I like about the romance is that the guy she meets really brings out the best in her without her having to really rely on him. And the other thing I love about the romance, this is the thing I mentioned earlier. There is a large scene devoted to the fact that they cannot get married unless he's part of the Greek Orthodox Church, and so he converts for her. And I'm not saying that that's what every guy should do. I'm not saying you should change your religion if that's a touchy subject, but I think in the context of this film, that is one of the most romantic signs of dedication I have ever seen in a romance story on film. And then I can't get away with this without mentioning the family. The family is brilliant. It's just, they pull out the stops with every crazy relative, and they have the woman embarrassed by her crazy family. The guy is enamored by them, even though they try to prank him, like the brother teaching him to say naughty things in Greek when he thinks he's saying innocent things. And there's the dad with this thing with Windex that's very funny. And there's a really hilarious scene where she goes to meet the guy's parents, and they're just flat out boring. And I think that's the charm of this movie, is it actually makes you realize how great it is to have an interesting family, even if they do drive you up the wall. And that is just one of the reasons I love this movie so much. Hey, look at that title card telling you that we're finally done after 4 videos. So basically, if there's a chick flick that you think was great and didn't make it onto the list, you're perfectly free to list it in the comments, but my list, my rules, it's kind of the privileges of having the power to vlog. I just thought I'd put this up here because, well, a lot of people put up top 10 lists, and I like top 10 lists. I know that's a really shallow reason for putting things up, but chick flicks are generally shallow movies. So there. And also because, I think it's interesting to see people's perspectives about what they think is good art and film, and I think it's interesting to share that as well. So, chick flicks, not a genre I'm typically into, not a genre a lot of people are typically into, but those are my top 10 not only tolerable, but likable ones, and I hope you enjoyed them. Peace!